I'm staring at the wedding invitation when Claire walks into my office, not knocks, not announces herself, just walks in. That's very her, Martinez. Why do you look like someone just told you puppies aren't real? I look up. She's leaning against my door frame. Navy blazer, silk blouse, reading glasses pushed up into that dark hair she's been threatening, to cut short for the 3 years I've worked under her. 46 years old, and she still makes every 20-something in marketing look like they're trying too hard. Bad news? She asks, softer this time, wedding invitation, I say, then immediately regret it. Claire's my boss. Director of Strategic Development. I'm a senior analyst. We have a professional relationship. A good one, but not a share your romantic failures one, except she doesn't leave. She walks in, closes the door, and sits in the chair across from my desk like she's settling in. Jen's your wedding or someone else's? My ex. Jenna 24 hours from now. Actually, I laugh, but it sounds hollow even to me. She sent it to my work address with a handwritten note saying she hopes I'm doing well and that it would mean a lot if I came. Claire's eyebrows rise. That's either very mature or very cruel. How long were you together? 4 years. She ended it 8 months ago, said I was. I stopped because what do you tell your boss? That your ex said you were emotionally unavailable? That you never took risks? That dating you felt like you playing it safe? You said you were what? Claire prompts. Her eyes, dark brown, direct, don't waver, not exciting enough, basically. I shrug. She wanted someone who'd surprise her. Someone spontaneous. Turns out her yoga instructor fit the bill. Claire nods slowly. The yoga instructor she's marrying? Yen. That's the one, 24 hours. Sunset ceremony. I already RSVP'd yes because I'm apparently a masochist who thinks showing up proves something. What does it prove? I pause. That's the question, isn't it? That I'm fine, that I've moved on, that I'm not the boring, safe guy she left. Claire studies me for a long moment. The office is quiet except for the hum of the air conditioning and someone's distant laughter from the break room. Then she leans forward, elbows on her knees, and I catch the scent of her perfume. Something with bergamot and cedar, elegant and unexpected. What if, she says slowly, you didn't go alone? My brain stalls. What? What if you brought a date? Someone who'd make it clear you're very much fine, very much moved on. I don't. I'm not seeing anyone. I know, she says, it's simply no judgment. Of course she knows. We've had enough early mornings and late nights on project deadlines that my lack of social life is probably obvious. I'm proposing a solution, and then she says the most insane thing I've heard all year. Take me. I blink once, twice. I'm sorry, what? Take me as your date. Fake date, obviously. We show up, we're charming, we make it abundantly clear that you're thriving, and then we leave. 7 hours, maximum. Ceremony, cocktails, dinner, and we're out before the dancing gets awkward. I stare at her. Claire Fleming, my boss, brilliant, intimidating, perpetually composed Claire Fleming, who once made a VP cry in a budget meeting and then calmly suggested he take a walk to collect himself. And you're serious, completely. She leans back, crosses her legs. Look, I know how this sounds, but hear me out. You need someone who's going to walk in there and immediately shift the narrative. Someone confident, someone unexpected. Someone who's going to make your ex think, you wait, him? When did he become interesting? And you think you're that someone, Martinez? I know I am. No arrogance in her voice. Just fact. I'm 20 years older than you. I'm your boss. And I don't remotely fit the mold of who anyone expects you to date. She is C. Pointieri Skazer inferred cedar. That's the entire point. Jenna wanted spontaneous? Exciting? Show her exciting. My heart is doing something complicated in my chest. Why would you do this? For the first time, she hesitates. Her fingers tap against her knee. A small tell I've learned means she's choosing her words carefully. because she says, finally, I've been where you are. Not the same situation, but I know what it's like to show up somewhere and feel like you're under a microscope, like you have to prove you're okay when you're not sure you are. And I know what it's like to wish you had someone in your corner. She pauses. Plus, I have nothing else planned tomorrow, and I look exceptional in formal wear. That startles a real laugh out of me. That's your pitch? Is it working? You know, I should say, no, this is my boss. This is insane. This is, what are the rules? I ask instead. Claire's smile is slow, knowing, smart. Okay, rules. She counts on her fingers. One, we're convincing. That means we sell this. No half measures, no awkward hovering 3 feet apart. We're a couple. Act like it. Two, we keep it professional before and after. What happens at this wedding stays at the wedding. Monday morning, we're back to normal. Three. She pauses and something shifts in her expression. Something almost playful. Three, if we're going to do this, we do it right. So here's your job, Martinez. When we're there, when you see her, when she looks at you and you feel that doubt creeping in, kiss me. Then my mouth goes dry. Kiss me like you're giving her second thoughts. Like you're reminding yourself why you're better off. Like you mean it. She stands, smooths her blazer. Those are my rules. Can you follow them? I should say no. I absolutely should say no. What time should I pick you up? I ask. Instead, her smile could light fires. 4 o'clock. Ceremony's at 6, right? That gives us time to get there, make an entrance, wear the charcoal suit, not the navy, and Martinez? She's at the door now, hand on the handle. Yeah? Relax. It's 7 hours. What's the worst that could happen? It means I pick her up at CP per Sam. I pick her up at SAS. P. 10 p.m. She lives in a brownstone in the Arts District, the kind of place with window boxes, an original crown molding that probably costs more than I'll make in 5 years. When she answers the door, I forget how to breathe. The dress is emerald green silk, maybe? It falls to just below her knees, fitted in all the ways that make my brain stop working, with a neckline that's modest, but suggests. Her hair is down. I've only seen it down maybe twice, dark waves framing her face. Small gold earrings. Minimal makeup, except her lips are this deep wine color that, you're staring, she says amused. Yeah, you said you looked exceptional in formal wear. You undersold it. Something flickers across her face. Pleasure, maybe. You clean up well yourself. Charcoal suit was the right call. She grabs a small clutch and a silk shawl. Ready? Kink? The drive is an hour and 40 minutes to the vineyard, where Jenna's having her ceremony. We're 15 minutes in when Claire says, tell me about her, Jenna. If I'm going to be your devastatingly sophisticated older girlfriend, I should probably know the basics. How'd you meet? A college friend set us up. She was doing her master's in education. I just started at Morrison and Chen. We were compatible, same taste in restaurants, same Netflix preferences. Easy. Easy. Claire repeats, like she's tasting the word. That's romantic. It was comfortable, I correct. For a long time, that felt like enough, you know. But it wasn't, I glance at her. She's looking out the window, but I can see her reflection, the thoughtful set of her mouth. No, I admit. I think I was so focused on doing everything right. Good job, stable relationship, sensible life plan, that I forgot to actually live. Jenna felt it before I did. She wanted adventure, spontaneity, someone who'd suggest midnight road trips or impromptu flights to Portland. I suggested meal prep Sundays and couples budgeting. Claire laughs, really laughs, head tilted back. Oh, Martinez, what? Okay, you're telling me she left you because you're responsible, because you plan ahead? Boring, I correct. She left because I'm boring. Claire shifts to face me, and I feel the weight of her attention like heat. She left because she was 25 and didn't know yet that stability is sexy. That a man who shows up, who's reliable, who thinks about the future, that's not boring. That's rare. Okay, my hands tighten on the wheel. You're just saying that because, I don't know, because I'm older? Yes, exactly. Because I'm 46 and I've dated the exciting guys, Martinez, the spontaneous ones, the ones who surprise you with midnight trips, but also surprise you by forgetting your birthday, or borrowing money, or deciding commitment is limiting their growth. Her voice is dry. Stability stops being boring around age 35. Trust me, so I just needed to wait 10 years for my personality to be appealing. Kennel, or she says quietly, date women who already know what matters. Eco, the silence that follows is complicated. I focus on the road, rolling hills, vineyard country, golden late afternoon light, but I'm hyper aware of her, the way she tucks her hair behind her ear, the sound of her breathing, the fact that this woman, this impossible woman, is sitting in my car wearing that dress and, your turn, I say, desperate to shift gears. Tell me about your last relationship. Yeah. Yeah. She's quiet for a moment. His name was Richard. 52, divorced, venture capitalist, very successful, very confident, very good at talking about himself. How long? A year. Ended 3 months ago. She traces a pattern on her knee. He said I was too focused on my career, that I intimidated him, that he needed a partner who was more supportive. Translation, you didn't worship at the altar of his ego. She smiles, but it's tired. Something like that. Turns out a lot of men my age want a woman who's successful enough to be impressive, but not so successful that she doesn't have time to make them the center of her universe. It's exhausting, Kanos. I'm sorry. Don't be better to know. Besides, she looks at me, and there's something vulnerable in her eyes. Maybe I'm picky. Maybe I'm too set in my ways. Maybe at 46, I've missed my window for, stop. I interrupt. You haven't missed anything. I catch myself, but she's watching me, waiting. You're extraordinary, Claire. Any man who can't handle that is the problem, not you. The silence is heavier now, weighted. Well, she says softly, maybe you're not so boring after all, Martinez. We arrive at Sister TPM. The vineyard is predictably gorgeous. Rolling vines, string lights, that golden hour glow that makes everything look like a wedding Pinterest board. There's a string quartet. There are mason jars with wildflowers. There's an arch covered in white roses where, in 13 minutes, I'm going to watch my ex marry. I'm going to watch my ex marry someone else. Breathe, Claire murmurs. Her hand slips into mine. Small, cool, steady, you've got this. You know? People are staring. I feel it immediately. My college friends Josh and Marcus clock us first. Their faces cycling through confusion, recognition, and what looks like impressed disbelief. Then I see Jenna's mom, whose eyebrows climb so high they nearly leave her face. And then I see Jenna. Eh? She's at the entrance to the ceremony space, greeting guests in her white dress. Simple, elegant, very her. She sees me, then she sees Claire. Then she sees our joined hands. Ankit, her smile freezes for just a heartbeat before recovering. Oh good, Claire whispers. This is going to be fun. Kenny, Jenna makes her way over. Up close, she looks happy. Genuinely happy, glowing in that bride way that feels both wonderful and like a knife between my ribs. Jan, you came, she says, and her voice is warm, but her eyes keep flicking to Claire. I'm so glad. Wouldn't miss it, I manage. Jenna, this is Claire Fleming. Claire, Jenna. Fans, they shake hands, and I watch Jenna do the mental math, the age gap, the way Claire carries herself. No. The fact that this woman is absolutely, unquestionably out of my league. Ben, it's lovely to meet you, Claire says, and her smile is gracious, but there's steel underneath. Congratulations. The venue is stunning. Thank you. How did you two? Jenna lets the question hang. You know, we work together, I say. Claire's my boss, actually. We've been seeing each other for a few months now. Banda Claire squeezes my hand. He's being modest. He's been pursuing me for longer than that. I was the one who finally gave in. She looks at me, and there's something in her eyes, warmth, playfulness, and a challenge. He can be very persuasive when he wants something. Jenna's smile is tight now. Well, I'm happy for you both. I should get back. Ceremony's starting soon, but we'll catch up at the reception. Of course, Claire says smoothly. We watch her go. You okay? Claire asks, low enough that only I hear. Well, I don't know yet, I admit. Ask me after I watch her get married. Fair enough. She tugs me toward the seating. Come on, let's find seats in the back. And Martinez? You know, yeah? Okay. I meant what I said. You're doing great. The ceremony is beautiful and brutal in equal measure. LBDME, I watch Jenna marry Tyler. Handsome, yoga instructor Tyler with his man bun and his hemp forward fashion choices and his vows about nurturing each other's journeys. He's probably a nice guy. He's probably good to her. He probably takes her on spontaneous adventures and never suggests meal prep Sundays. Claire's hand stays in mine the whole time. And when they kiss, when everyone applauds, I feel her thumb trace small circles on my palm. It's such a small gesture, but it anchors me. Band, you're doing fine, she murmurs as we stand for the recessional, almost through the hard part. But the hard part, it turns out, is just beginning. Cocktail hour is a minefield of small talk. Josh corners us by the bar. Dude, your boss? Your terrifying, gorgeous, way out of your league boss? She's standing right here, I point out. I know. Josh grins at Claire. I'm Josh. I've known this guy since he was a 20-year-old disaster who thought ramen was a food group. No idea how you're dating him, but respect. Okay, he's grown on me, Claire says, and the way she looks at me makes my stomach flip. He's full of surprises. You know, we navigate through conversations with college friends, Jenna's relatives, random wedding guests who all seem fascinated by the fact that I brought a date. Especially this date, Claire is perfect. She's charming without being fake, warm without being overfamiliar. She laughs at bad jokes. She asks thoughtful questions. She keeps her hand on my lower back, or her fingers, laced with mine, casual touches that somehow feel more intimate than anything I experienced in 4 years with Jenna. By dinner, I'm starting to believe my own lie. We're seated at a table with Marcus, his wife Rachel, and 2 of Jenna's cousins. The food is excellent. Some kind of herb-crusted chicken situation that probably has a French name. Wine flows freely. Claire tells a story about a disastrous client presentation that has the whole table laughing. And I watch her. The way her eyes crinkle, the way she gestures with her wine glass, the way she's utterly effortlessly captivating. How long have you two been together? Rachel asks, chin in hand, fully invested. 3 months, Claire says. Officially, though we danced around it for longer than that, workplace romance, Marcus says knowingly. Risky, very, Claire agrees. She looks at me, but some risks are worth taking. My heart does something acrobatic. Yeka. Jenna stops by our table during a lull between courses. She's changed into a second dress, shorter, more dancing friendly, and she's flushed with champagne and happiness. Having fun? She asks, but she's looking at Claire. It's a beautiful wedding, Claire says. You and Tyler seem very happy. Yeah, we are. Jenna's smile is genuine. Then to me, can I borrow you for a second? Just old friends catching up? Claire releases my hand. Of course, I'll be here. I follow Jenna out to a balcony overlooking the vineyard. The sun setting now, all orange and pink, aggressively romantic. For a moment, we just stand there. She's not what I expected, Jenna says finally. But what did you expect? UK, yo, I don't know. Someone younger? Someone more like you? I turned to look at her. What does that mean? You can, safe, she says, and there's no malice in it, just honesty. You always played it safe, with work, with us, with everything. I thought you'd bring someone predictable, someone age appropriate and sensible who works in finance and has a 5-year plan. Yeah, Claire has a 10-year plan, I say. She's incredibly sensible. She's also the least safe person I've ever met. Ik kan jasty for sin for forshu fani fossa shell as me. Jenna studies me. You're different. You seem, I don't know, more confident, more present. Is that because of her? You know? I think about that, about the last 3 months working alongside Claire, about the way she challenges me in meetings, trusts me with bigger projects, calls me out when I'm playing it safe, about how she makes me want to be braver. Maybe, I admit, or maybe you breaking up with me forced me to figure out who I actually wanted to be instead of who I thought I should be. I didn't want to hurt you, she says quietly. I know. And you were right about a lot of it. I was too comfortable, too risk averse. I needed to grow up. I look back through the glass doors at Claire, who's laughing at something Marcus said. But boring? Safe? I don't think I was ever those things. I think I was just with someone who made me feel like I needed to be. You know, Jenna follows my gaze. You really care about her. It's not a question, but I answer anyway. Yeah, I really do. Does she know about this being? I mean, you said you've been together 3 months, but your friend Josh seems surprised. Yo, my stomach drops. What? Earlier at cocktails. He said something about how last week you told him you weren't seeing anyone, and then suddenly you show up with her. Jenna's not accusing, just puzzled. Is everything okay? Ank, before I can answer, before I can figure out what to answer, Tyler appears, grinning and loose-limbed. Hey, there you are! Come on, babe, they're about to do the toasts. He nods at me, friendly and oblivious. Hey, man. Thanks for coming. Jenna gives me one last searching look before letting Tyler lead her away. I stand there for a moment, heart pounding. She knows. Or suspects, or, Martinez. You know, I turn. Claire's in the doorway, backlit by the warm glow of the reception. She looks concerned. Eat you? Okay. You know, I run a hand through my hair. I think Jenna's figured it out, that this is fake. Josh said something that didn't add up. Cool. Claire steps onto the balcony, closes the door behind her. We're alone now, just us and the sunset and the sound of laughter from inside. Coat, does that matter? She asks quietly. Does it? Claire. The whole point was to convince her I'd moved on. If she knows this is fake, then she knows you went to elaborate lengths to save face at your ex's wedding. So what? Claire moves closer. Martinez, why did you really agree to this? I stare at her. What? This plan. This insane, inappropriate boundary crossing plan. Why did you say yes? Her voice is soft but insistent. Was it really just to make Jenna jealous, to prove something to her? Yes, yes. That was the whole, or was it because you wanted an excuse? My breath catches. An excuse for what? Been to spend time with me, outside of work, to see what this, she gestures between us, might feel like if it were real. The air between us is electric, Claire, because I need to be honest with you. She's close enough now that I can see the gold flecks in her brown eyes. Add, the way her chest rises and falls with careful breaths. I didn't offer to do this just to be nice. I did it because for 3 years, I've watched you grow from a nervous analyst into someone I respect, someone I trust, someone who makes me laugh during terrible budget meetings and brings me coffee without asking, "Dot!" and stays late to help with my presentations, even though it's not your job. That's just, someone I've been attracted to for longer than I want to admit, she continues. and who I've told myself is off limits for every professional reason that exists. But then you sat in my office looking devastated about this wedding, and I thought, what if we just had one night? One night where I could pretend the age gap doesn't matter, where I'm not your boss, where we're just Claire and you and I kiss her. It can, it's not strategic, it's not for show, there's no one watching. Ores, I cup her face in my hands and I kiss her like I've apparently been wanting to for longer than I understood, and she makes this small sound of surprise before melting into me, her hands fisting in my lapels, and yo God. This is nothing like kissing Jenna, nothing like the comfortable, familiar kisses of a 4-year relationship. This is fire and want, and 3 years of tension snapping like a cord. When we break apart, we're both breathing hard. That, Claire says shakily, was not part of the plan. New plan, I manage. What if we stop pretending? Her eyes search mine, Martinez. You know, my name is David, and I don't care about Jenna. I don't care about this wedding. I care about you. The words tumble out, reckless and true. I care that you're brilliant and intimidating and kind, that you challenge me, that when you walk into a room, I forget what I was thinking. I care that you're 46 and I'm 28 and we work together and this is complicated and possibly a disaster. But you want to try anyway, she finishes. Yes, do you. For a long moment, she just looks at me, then she smiles, really smiles, unguarded and breathtaking. Kiss me again, she says, like you mean it. So I do. We stay for one more hour. We dance, slow and close, her head on my shoulder, my hand on the small of her back. We're not performing anymore. We're just us together, figuring this out. Jenna finds us as we're getting ready to leave. Heading out? She asks, and there's something softer in her expression now, understanding maybe. Yeah, I say, long drive back. Dan, she looks between us, then smiles. She's really special, isn't she? She really is. Good. Jenna squeezes my arm. I'm glad you found someone who sees you the way you deserve to be seen. Even if. She pauses. Even if the timeline doesn't quite add up, Claire laughs. You caught us, Jenna grins. Little bit. But you know what? I don't care. You two are good together. Real or fake or somewhere in between. You fit. She looks at me. I'm sorry if I made you feel like you weren't enough. You were always enough. We just weren't right. MB, I know, I say, and I mean it. Be happy, Jenna. You too. The drive home is different. Claire's hand rests on my thigh. We talk, really talk, about what this means. About the complications at work, we'll be careful, discreet, check the HR policy. About the age gap, it matters less than people think, but it matters. About taking it slow, relatively speaking, considering we just blew past every boundary in one evening. So, I might be terrible at this. She admits somewhere around mile marker 47. I haven't done new relationship in a long time. I'm set in my ways. I work too much. I'm bossy. You're perfect. I interrupt. I'm not. You're perfect for me. There's a difference. And she's quiet. Then what happens Monday? Monday we're professionals. Boss and employee, we keep it separate. And after work, I glance at her, this impossible woman who walked into my office 24 hours ago and changed everything. After work, I take you to dinner, somewhere nice, somewhere you pick. And I spend the whole time trying not to stare at you across the table. Man, you can stare, she says, smiling. I'll probably stare back. Ellen, when I drop her at her brownstone, I walk her to the door because that's what you do. She turns, and in the porch light, she's luminous. Thank you, I say. For today. For being honest. For taking a chance on someone boring and safe who… Oh, she kisses me quiet. You were never boring, David. You just needed someone who could keep up, and you can. Please. I've been lapping you for years. But her smile is tender. Monday morning, 9 a.m. Conference room B. We have that Peterson presentation. Strictly professional. Strictly. She kisses me again, softer this time. But Monday night? Monday night? Under Monday night. You're taking me to that Italian place on 5th. The one with the wine cellar. Wear the charcoal suit? Yes, ma'am. Don't call me ma'am, she says, but she's laughing. I'm not that much older than you, 18 years. Fine. I'm that much older than you. Are you going to be weird about it? I think about the evening, about her hand in mine, about the way she kisses, about 3 years of wanting someone I thought was impossible and discovering she wanted me back. No, I say. I'm going to be grateful. She smiles, touches my cheek, and steps inside. I drive home in a daze. My apartment feels different, lighter somehow. I pour a drink. I sit on my couch. I pull out my phone and text her, no, made it home. Thank you for tonight, for everything. Aim, her response comes 30 seconds later. Thank you for being brave enough to ask. See you Monday, Martinez. And then a moment after, David, I fall asleep smiling. Monday morning, 9 a.m., conference room B. Bomb ND Claire walks in wearing her navy blazer and her director face. I stand when she enters, professional, appropriate. Our eyes meet for just a heartbeat longer than necessary. Martinez, ready for the Peterson presentation? You absolutely, Miss Fleming. Coming to the meeting is flawless. We're professional, focused. By the book. Wah. But when it ends, when everyone filters out, she lingers by the door. 7 o'clock, she says quietly. Italian place, don't be late, wouldn't dream of it. She starts to leave, then pauses. David? Yeah? Man, I'm really glad you came to my office Friday. With that wedding invitation? Me too? Blunt, even if your ex figured out it was fake? I know, I smile. It stopped being fake somewhere around the vineyard. Maybe earlier. Maybe, I consider. Maybe it was never fake at all. Claire's smile could light the whole city. Maybe not, she leaves. Bendy, I sit there for a moment, in the empty conference room, thinking about fake dates and real feelings and the woman who walked into my office and gave me the courage to take the exact kind of risk I'd been avoiding my whole life. Jenna wanted excitement, spontaneity, someone who'd surprise her. Turns out, I just needed someone worth being brave for. Dimly in 7 hours that changed everything. Best 7 hours of my life.